You know the process.
Edit it out. What? No. Live to tape.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 52 of the Creative Train Podcast. We have a guest today. You know when people say they have a really cool job or one they're not just really good at, but they really enjoy doing too? My guest today is one such guy, Peter Kelly. Peter is a video editor, audio and video content producer. He makes short films, longer films, training videos, and even videos on how to train the trainers. And the coolest part is that he does it all, almost all, out of his home-based studio in Toronto, Ontario. Who knows, maybe you've already seen some of his work. We're going to hear some very inspiring stories about a very creative career with a really cool guy. Welcome, Peter Kelly, to the Creative Train Podcast. So there we go. There's my little intro spiel for you.
I'm feeling really good about myself right now. Thank you.
It's funny when I like to make those things just to have a little consistency across my intros and that. And I always like to surprise somebody with it. I don't tell them what I'm going to say. So
no, it's very feel good.
Yeah. Excellent. So welcome, Peter. Welcome. How do you get people to understand your limits, your boundaries as an independent person? You don't have a corporation behind you to say, oh, it's his rules. I'm just following the rules. Like, do you have that in contract form? Do you have it on paper?
So I've learned, as with everybody, you learn the hard way. I've been very fortunate, to be honest. I had a really bad client about 2 years ago, and that's the first what I would classify as a bad client in about 17 years.
Wow.
And one of the single biggest things is I'm really big on getting everything written out ahead of time. So I will submit, even for small projects, a proposal. And often the proposal is it's a half a page description of, here's what we had talked about, but I just want to put it in like 3 paragraphs. So we both agree this is the scope of the project. And then in my proposals, I usually give 2 options. It's like, here's what I can do for the bare minimum, and here's with all the bells and whistles. And that I will detail what I'm going to do and exactly what I'm going to deliver. So if there's ever any disagreement, I can point back to that proposal. Like, this is what you agreed to. This is, there's all there in black and white.
Yeah.
And like I said, 2 years ago, I had a client who they kept trying to change the scope of the project. It was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was just like, this is not what we agreed to. Like, I can do bigger, but it's going to cost you more. And they're like, well, we're not paying anymore. And I'm like, then we have to go back to the original. And it became this back and forth. And in that case, I got very stressed about it. And I had another entrepreneur, I had a conversation with who basically put my head on straight in 5 minutes. He was just like, sometimes you have to fire the client, Peter. Like, you're not the problem here. You've made every effort to establish your boundaries, and you've got solid reasons why. They literally wanted $25,000 of work for $10,000, and I can't afford that. Right? Like, my margins aren't that big. So I'm like, you go a little bit over budget, then I'm going to charge you extra. And I'm always very clear with that too. I'm like, this is the price. And if you want more, it'll cost more, but we'll discuss that before any expenses get incurred. Right. So I try to treat everybody with respect that I want back. And in this case, there was a language barrier, and it wasn't that they didn't speak English. It was like they weren't reading emails, where I was detailing things in emails and they were just replying without reading them.
Yeah.
And eventually it was just like, we need to part ways.
Yeah. To have the confidence to know your value in dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. And that took a long time for me. I come from, like, my dad's self-employed, and he has undercharged his entire career. It took me a long time to realize I was doing that. It's a real thing. Like, I provide something of value, but sometimes you forget that, or sometimes you're just, to be perfectly blunt, you're hungry for work, and it'd be like, well, I'll take a lower rate. But then you get angry because you're like, well, I'm doing so much work and I'm getting paid so little.
Yeah.
So that's it's very unhealthy.
Hmm. Yeah. Knowing your value is a huge thing because it lets you approach, sales with confidence.
Yeah.
Have a client can reach out and you can lay it on the line and say, this is what it is. And I mean, even if it's a script you have to rehearse, like you said, a couple paragraphs or something like that. Like if you're starting out as an artist or, performer or whatever, write out what you need out of your contracts.
Yeah.
Read it enough that it's in your head that when somebody says, oh, can you come perform, or can you come do this for me, or can I send you that to get done, you're going to be able to go with your script.
Yeah. And it's the knowing like how much prep time, because sometimes there's work before the client sees you, right? Then there's the work that you're doing, and then there's work afterwards, right? And if you don't take all that into account, you can lose days where you're not billing. And if you haven't put that into your price, like one of the best bits of advice, and I wish I got it earlier in my career, was to do the math. Like, what do you think is a fair hourly fee? Then how many hours of work is this project going to take? And sometimes, when I was not starting out, but midway through my career, sometimes that math seemed so weird. I'm like, well, 50 hours at this rate seems like I can't charge the client that much. But I'm like, yeah, I can. I have to. I got bills to pay. I got to survive. I love what I do, but it's also what I do. I need to make money. I could work full time, 12 months of the year on projects that don't pay. Trust me, people are out there and ask for it all of the time. So if I don't guard against that, I can be agreeing to do free work constantly. The one thing, whenever AI is introduced to any of my software or any of my tools, the first thing and only thing I ask it is, how do I turn this off? And so far, Chrome is the only one to give me specific instructions as to how to turn it off. Everything else doesn't.
Jeez.
So,
does AI play much of a role in what you do?
Yes. So the generative, wow, that word's hard. Generative AI, where it's actually creating images and stuff, is becoming more popular. I've used it 6-7 times. I really don't like it. Ethically, I'm against it. Environmentally, I'm against it. In one case, it was literally, I needed a shot that I could not find stock footage for. And I was like, let me try this out. And I was like, okay, this is impressive. But by and large, I try to avoid it. What I see for me in the future is it's going to be a B-roll creator. If I need a shot of, in that case, it was actually a call center. Like I needed a very specific shot from a certain angle of a call center, and I couldn't find stock footage to buy, so I created one. But I'm very big on having my clients on camera. One of my skill sets is getting them talking. And just, sit them down. I have a conversation and I turn that conversation into a video. I don't let non-actors read scripts. So my general approach to filmmaking and corporate video stuff is very people focused. So I don't see me using a lot of AI other than the odd B-roll shot if I just need an example of something. That said, I do use some filters and stuff that they're labeled AI, but I'm like, are they AI or is it just machine learning? Like it's all AI is as much marketing as anything. But I've got a couple of plugins that I pay for. One for audio. I've got one that cleans up voices. And I've had a client who they filmed themselves with their smartphone at a construction site. And I have a drag and drop filter that made the audio. I'm not going to say it was great, but it was usable. Okay. Whereas, my skill set and even 3 years earlier, I'm like, there's no way this would have been usable audio.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of AI. And I'll avoid using it for as long as I possibly can.
What's the encouragement for people to put anything out there?
Yeah, no, it's one of the, on a corporate level, I've encouraged people when they're like doing stuff for their own business. I'm like, make a bad video. Your first video will be bad. Your first video should be bad. Like the very first thing you make of anything will never be great. Nobody's a prodigy. It's just not a thing. And even now, like I've been doing what I do for 25 years. I look back at stuff I made 5 years ago and I see the flaws. And I'm like, I'm always, if I'm any good at my job today, I'm going to look back at my old stuff and find stuff I did wrong because I've gotten better. The minute I stop seeing that, it means I've stopped getting better. And we're setting up a world where that can't happen on a human level. Like you need to be able to improve. AI just drives me batty. The mindset of it just drives me batty.
But it's the draw that people have to it is that, oh, there's more free stuff for me online now.
Yeah.
And that was like when Napster and all that stuff became a thing. You know, I would have music students come in with binders, hundreds of CDs that they'd burned off LimeWire and all the rest of this stuff. And I would say to them, like, where'd you get that? And it's like, oh, Napster, whatever. And I said, and how much was it? Oh, it's free. You know, it's awesome. It's free. And I said, people actually make that music. It costs a lot of money to put music out there. And like, yeah. And I said, so let me float a hypothetical by you. Say your dad works at General Motors. And one day they wheel in a robot that just replaced him. And now your dad doesn't have any work. How do you feel about that? And like, well, that's not going to happen. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we as a culture, it's this weird thing where we devalue, and it's so easy to devalue art. But my go-to example is shipping. Like you order something and free shipping is a selling point. Or now, I'm not going to pay for shipping. Well, if you had to get a letter from your house to London, England, and you couldn't use the post office, you couldn't use any shipping company, how much would it cost you to get it there? Like it costs money to send things. But as a culture, we no longer value anything in the shipping industry. And that's kind of like happening one industry after another. And for the creatives who, I mean, let's be honest, we've never, you've got the artists that break through, but for every Taylor Swift, how many hundreds of thousands of people aren't? You're just making it that much harder for people to get by.
Yeah. And it becomes, I don't want to like sound bitter about it, but it's discouraging after a while.
And that's it. Like you can rail against it and be angry, but yeah, it's the discouragement because it's like, well, I can put my effort into this after hours because you get your full-time job, and a lot of us are doing one thing and doing creative stuff on the side. Or I can just be like, let me just watch Netflix tonight. Yeah. And more, and then what creative is being robbed from the world? Like what amazing art, or what amazing movie, or amazing song didn't we get to hear because somebody wasn't encouraged?
Right. That's a really, really good point. So how did you design your studio? If you're renovated your garage, do you have a flow that you like to use? Like the way so the overall design was literally my dad's a contractor, so he just did what he did. Okay. I had very little say in the matter. But I've reworked it a couple times. Like during COVID, I had one wall that looked nicer than all the other ones. So I moved my desk to what was effectively the middle of the room. It looked very bizarre. It was a weird use of the space, but it made my backdrop look amazing, which was very important to me during COVID. Because if I was on a Zoom call, of all of the Zoom calls people were on, I know I needed to look the best because I was trying to tell them, hey, I'm good at video. So now though I've shunted myself into a corner with a window, and then against another back wall is a big open space, and I'll paint that wall and put in props depending on what the client needs. That's cool. Yeah. That's great that you can do it all in your home studio there. That's
yeah, I'm very fortunate, absolutely fortunate to be in Toronto and have this kind of a space. It also helps I don't have a car, so my garage has become. The first year I had the house, I actually rented the garage out. And this has nothing to do with anything other than I met this lovely woman who was a writer for a horror magazine, and she needed a place to park her hearse. And she had been having trouble. Yeah, she had a hearse. She wrote for a horror magazine and she made horror movies. And she had a hearse and she couldn't find a place that she could afford and would let her park it, because she had a lot of people who basically she had been looking for a garage, and when they found out it was a hearse, they were too creeped out. Where I was like, no, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, bring the hearse. So I'm like, I would have friends over. I'm like, I got a hearse in the garage if you want to go and take a look at it. and it was like a 1954. I don't even know what it was. It was a gorgeous looking vehicle.
Land yacht.
Yeah.
Do you have any shameless self-promotion?
I've done a couple of projects with this amazing filmmaker named Joel Buxton. And specifically, we did a 48-hour film challenge about a month ago, where quite literally Friday night, he was given a couple of prompts. It's like, here's a character name, here's a prop, here's a line of dialogue, and you have to work these all into a movie. And the movie is due Sunday night. What? So we spent an insane 48 hours doing that. And we had to cut out a scene to get it to fit into the runtime. So we're right now in the middle of just reworking the film, put that scene back in, and then it's going to do the festival circuit. I'm really proud of it. It's a bizarre comedy horror. We did do a screening.
8 hours from inception to release.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the second time we've done it. The first time we did it, I was really hesitant. I had done something similar like 20 years ago. I'm like, I'm not as young as I used to be. You don't get sleep on the weekend. The product is always like meh, because you're just doing a rush thing. And my wife was like, just do it. If nothing else, it'll be fun. Like, I know Joel from work. Like we'd worked together 15 years ago, and he was a fun guy. And he's just like, you're just going to have fun. And the product or the film that we ended up with last year was phenomenal. Like, I'm so proud of it. So then this year he's like, do you want to do it again? And I was like, absolutely. So it's like professional level quality. He brings in, like, I'm the editor. He brings in a professional DOP. These are people who make a living at what we do, who get together for 2 days and make these odd little films. So I'm really excited about that. Unfortunately, neither one is available online, because the first one's doing the festival circuit now, and the second one will be doing that in the spring.
Okay.
And then as for Peter Kelly Media, I mean, I love telling stories. My big thing there is, I tell people, we live in a society where people buy into businesses before they buy from businesses. So if you're going to make a marketing video, if you're going to do any advertising, you got to couch it in a story. You don't just tell people what it is you do, you tell them why you're doing it, right? And then the people will buy into what you do. My go-to example there is Tom's Shoes. It's a shoe store in the States. Every time you buy a pair of shoes from Tom's, they send a pair of shoes to somebody who needs them. So I've never bought a pair of Tom's shoes. They're not available where I live. I'm a huge fan of that company, though, because I believe in what they're doing. And I think that's the way businesses need to run. Figure out what it is you do, why you do it, and then tell that story. And I want people to hire me to help tell that story. And I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, just to deal with the tech.
Yep. And I help craft a story too. It's like, what is it you're trying to say? And I work with them. And my big thing is, I don't script stuff. I will write a script so the client can know, like, on paper, here's what's going to get covered. Here's roughly what's going to be said. Here's what the visuals are going to be. But when I go to film, I just conduct interviews. I have conversations with people. And that's really how I say it. It's not even an interview. It's a conversation. If you can talk to me about what you do for a living, we're just going to talk until I have the 6 points you need in the film covered. And then I'll go back to the edit room. I'll put it together like a little mini documentary. And every single client that's let me do that has been delighted with it.
You bring something different to the table.
And it's very much my general approach. And this has been my approach my entire career. Unless it's my project, like I've made a couple of short films that are Peter Kelly projects. If it's not my project, I'm not trying to make it in the style of Peter Kelly. I'm trying to make it in the style of law firm, or, there's a puzzle shop near me that I did a video for, right? And I was like, okay, like, it's two women who started this shop. It's their store is about the size of my garage, and they sell puzzles. And I'm like, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to come in and we're going to have a conversation about why you make puzzles, who buys the puzzles. And they had a really tight budget. So I'm like, just send me all the photos you have. And the visuals were all the photos of the store and of them in the store. And then the audio was them talking about how much they love selling puzzles. They love making puzzles. They love doing puzzles, and they love selling puzzles. So it became this weird little I don't even, it's almost like it was art, right? Because it was, I started off and it was in the shape of a puzzle piece, the video itself. And, it wasn't something I would have made for myself, but it fit what they were doing. And I'm really big on that. It's like, what's your story? How do I tell your story? And you know, my clients have got to be happy with it for me to get more work. And so far, so good.
There you go. You said you've been at it 25 years already, eh? So.
Yeah, professionally. I mean, I was doing it at 13. My parents had one of those massive VHS camcorders. Okay. And I was making videos at 13. I was exploring like stop motion. I remember being in my backyard with Joe and Kevin, and we were making a stop motion video as Joe was driving a chair around my backyard. And Kevin got what we were doing. Joe had no clue. From his point of view, we were just making him sit on a chair and holding a steering wheel. And he was like, I don't get this. And then a week later, when I showed him what I had edited together, he could not stop laughing. He's like, that's what you're doing.
So what do you use tech-wise these days? What's your preferred device for filming?
I'm all over the place. I've stopped buying cameras. My smartphone is a better camera than any of my cameras. So
I was wondering. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, if the client's on a budget, I'll flat out tell them. I'm like, well, we can film this on a smartphone. It'll be a lot cheaper. I've actually have lots of clients that film themselves. I'll even do a Zoom call and teach them. Like, here's like the 3 things you need to know to film yourself so you look good. And then if it's a bigger project and it warrants it, I'll hire a camera operator, and either they have a camera or we'll rent gear. Audio wise, I've got a Tascam audio recorder and a couple different microphones. You can see actually I've got a Sennheiser shotgun microphone that my sister got married 22 years ago in the church my mom works at. And a week after the wedding, I was the videographer for that wedding. I don't do weddings. But a week afterwards, my mom's like, "Oh, you left your microphone in the church." And I'm like, "That is not my microphone. I am a student. I could not possibly afford. I cannot possibly afford that." So she brought it back. And then a month later, she's like, "Nobody has claimed this microphone." So the powers that be said, "Just give it to Peter." So I've had this Sennheiser microphone for 23 years, and it works beautifully.
Yeah.
It's complete overkill, but I've used it on Zoom calls before. So audio wise, I do that. Yeah. And I've got a couple of lavs. Again, depends on what the client needs. And then I do have lights, but a lot of the stuff I shoot is on location where I can't control the lighting. And the lighting I've kind of actually upgraded in the last couple of years, because I had the big box stuff that took 5 fluorescent bulbs, and you had to it took like 10 minutes to set up each light. And now I've just got like LEDs that, you just put on a stand and flip a switch, and they're way better and way smaller.
What would you be doing otherwise? Did you have a plan B?
No, I never had a plan B. No. My parents did. My parents had no. My dad still to this day doesn't understand what I do. But this is what I do. Like I guess I would have been a storyteller in some regard. Yeah. But I don't know what form it would have taken.
Yeah. I had another guest that I had on, a friend of mine from Quebec, and he's a graphic designer and musician. And I said, "So did you have a plan B?" And he says, "No." And it's amazing how many people that are like dedicated to their career in the arts just never had a plan B. It just didn't occur to them that there was anything else to do. I mean, I've done the 9 to 5. I've worked for the man, so to speak, but not for the past 35 years.
Yeah. I took a full-time job once in my career. It started off amazing. I was an editor, and then I grew into a producer and a director there. And then I got promoted into middle management. Wow. And that was the worst part of my career, was being in middle management. Like, the minute I could run back to the edit room, I begged them. I'm like, I need out of this role. It's killing me. I'm just pushing paper around. It's just, once it occurred to me that I could make a living at it. And let me tell you, it was someone else had to point that out to me. because making videos was just something fun I did as a teenager. And they're like, "You're going to do this for a living, right?" And I was like, "Wait, what? Hey, what?"
Are you
literally
asking me?
Yeah, it was. I actually, like, at the time I could apply to 3 universities and the deadline to apply was coming up and I still had no idea what I was doing for a living. And one of my buddies was like, "You're going to be a filmmaker." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Peter, that's all you do." He's like, "The minute school's over, you're making videos." And I was like, "Yeah, but that's something fun that I do. Like, your work is not fun."
Work.
It never occurred to me. And actually, first year university, I took a bunch of electives. I had to take things that weren't in film, and I focused more heavily on those because I was having too much fun in my film classes. I still hadn't adjusted to the mindset of, no, this is what I want to do for a living. I just always thought, okay, there's the work bit and you do the fun bit after the work is done.
Yeah.
And then
that was a topic that came up in one of my recent podcasts, and trying to inspire people, right? Keep artists, new artists, whatever, inspired. And it's that to always try to keep the mindset that your creative time is not a reward for the time you had doing a job you don't like.
Yep.
It's not supposed to be the end of the day if there's time left. It's once you make time for it, dedicate time and space to it, that's when the good stuff happens.
Yep. One of the best things I've done is start to schedule the time, because I've got, like, as a self-employed guy, I have to schedule what am I working on every day? What am I doing? And I've started scheduling time for my own projects.
Yeah.
Because otherwise those are always the first to go.
Yep.
Human made is going to become a huge thing. I think they're going to have labeling for stuff. This was human made. And I think there's going to be huge swaths of people who support stuff solely based on it being human made. And then from there, they'll discover the things they love. Like, it's great to just support everything and then find the stuff you really love and focus on that 1 or 2 artists and really help them thrive.
Yeah, you can hear it in music now. There's a lot of folks going right back to just, the guy in the guitar or the girl in the guitar, whatever it is. And you can hear the integrity of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing digital in there other than the medium it was recorded to.
Yeah.
There's
a great, I think it was during, what was the Canadian song when Band-Aid did We Are the World? Canada did.
Do They Know It's Christmas? No, that's the English one.
Whatever the Canadian one was, there's a great clip where Neil Young sang his bit, and they're like, "Neil, you're a little bit flat there," and he goes, "Yeah, that's my thing." And you're like, and it's the imperfections that make something wonderful. And you're like, "And who's going to argue with Neil Young?" Like, yeah, I'm a little bit flat, but it sounds like Neil Young.
Yeah, there was no auto-tune back then.
Thank God.
Yeah. I tried it once. Actually, I've tried it a few times, where it was a note that I just couldn't do for the length that I needed it to be done. And I listened to it, and I thought, "Oh, do I click the button?" And then I did it, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's so much better." And it wasn't like drastic. It was just like putting a little filter that took some of the crow's feet away from my eyes or something like that, Again,
it's a tool. Like, have it as a place. Like, I think there's the Cher song that was the first time for me it was noticeable. But I think they leaned into it, right? That they weren't trying to hide it, and it works well. And I want that, for that song. I don't want it in every song.
Anywho, I think we'll wrap it up. I really have enjoyed our conversation. It's been both buoying and inspiring talking to a fellow artist and creator about creative stuff and good things.
Yeah, thank you for this. This was a ball.